Can you purchase a home in the Rochester, Minnesota area in 30 days or less? And the answer is absolutely yes, you can totally do that. In fact, if that is not your intent, you just want to know really what to expect from the home purchasing timeline, what all ultimately goes into that, whether you're purchasing here in the Rochester area or elsewhere, then this video is definitely going to be helpful for you. I do serve here in the Rochester, Minnesota area. So if you're looking at another state, not much I can help you with there, but I'm sure a lot of the things are similar. Please talk to your local agent over there. But the answer is yes, in fact, you can purchase a home in the Rochester area in 30 days or less. I've done this many times over the years. We just need to make sure that we get a few things done right away so that you can actually make good decisions and informed decisions in the process. But in this video, I'm going to break down what those things are. Some situations I see are people who are really relocating here for work. For example, people who are moving here to work at the Mayo Clinic, which in that situation, I do have another video that breaks down a little bit more thoroughly what you can expect for that. Maybe you're in a situation where your lease is up and you want to make sure that you're able to get that house in accurate and good timeline. Maybe you found out that your lease rent is increasing. Maybe you got a landlord who isn't fixing things, whatever the case may be. I get a lot of clients who work with me over the years who've been in a situation where they want to make sure that they can close on a property quickly. So in this video, I want to make sure you have a fair chance and we can close on that house here in the Rochester areas. Over the years, I've had many clients buy houses in quick timelines. The quickest I was ever able to close on a property was within 8 days. That was in a situation where the buyer was paying in cash. In this situation, I'm going to break down a little bit more thoroughly what goes into financing. If you are a cash purchaser, I do have another video that'll break that down a little bit more thoroughly for you as well. My name is Alex Mayer. I'm with Counselor Realty of Rochester. I'm one of the associate brokers here, winner of Best Real Estate Agent here in the Rochester, Minnesota area for the year of 2022. I've been consistently ranked as one of the top agents here in the area over the years. I serve roughly a 30-mile radius, so if you're purchasing outside of Rochester, I can still help you out in that process as well. I do run one of the top teams here in Rochester as well. I'm super easy to get in touch with, and I do respond quickly. So step one is getting pre-approved. This is actually a very easy process. This is just getting a one-page document from a bank that says that you are qualified for the purchase of real estate. You are not tied to working with that bank specifically. We want to make sure that you have something that we can share to the seller that says that you are qualified for the purchase of real estate. This is kind of that show me the money stuff when it comes into all of that. So typically what they're going to ask for are documents such as pay stubs, employment. I do have another video that breaks down what the 3 key things are that banks are looking at. If you're someone who's moving here to work at Mayo Clinic, usually what we require is an unconditional letter of acceptance. Not always. There are some exceptions I've seen in the past, but if that is a situation that you're going through, reach out to me directly. I'll give you some specifics on the additional documents you might need throughout the process. In fact, if you are purchasing here in the Rochester, Minnesota area, if there's one takeaway that I can give to anyone, it is to reach out to me first so that I can get you in touch with a loan officer or a couple different loan officers who can give you some good advice as what we can do as far as the financing. Once I know about your situation, I can make recommendations on lenders much easier, and we're going to really streamline this process for you. So other than that, make sure that we have an idea of what you're looking at for a down payment or monthly payments. We want to make sure that those things work for you as well. Don't let those things scare you right away. I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to explain to people kind of what to expect around those things. For example, most common down payment I see here in the Rochester area is between 3 and 5%. I do have other clients who put down less than that. I've got clients who put down a lot more than that as well. Just want to make sure that people understand that. And at the end of the day, budgeting is a big part of this whole process. And my goal is to take a lot of that pressure off so I can let people know what it is that we can do to get you into that next home. Step 2 is hiring a local, full-time, and consistent real estate agent. I mean both local and full-time. If you're someone who is from out of the area, you're not going to have a good idea of really what the market specific conditions are. Even if you do live here in the area, this could be a situation where you're not paying attention to every day. I'm doing this every single day, so I can get people up to speed on what's working pretty quickly. If you are working with an agent who is just a part-timer or a newer agent, I really don't advise people to go that route. And the main reason is they are not able to be available to you in the event that they have a job that they got to go to regularly. In fact, even many full-time agents aren't doing enough business to actually get you what it is that you need. In fact, NAR, the National Association of Realtors, reported that in the first 6 months of 2022, only 8% of agents sold more than 4 houses in those first 6 months. So I want to make sure that you understand that you need to work with an agent who is doing this regularly, has a feet in the street experience to actually do these things. So this is my opinion on the process. If you want to make sure that you are having a good experience, you need an agent who is doing this every single day. Personally, I know all the big names here in the Rochester area. area. I'm good at advising people properly on how to win in the Rochester, Minnesota area. My whole business is actually built around getting my clients what they need. It's about making sure you have a full understanding of what's going on in the Rochester marketplace and explaining it in an easy to understand way. I want to make sure that you have all of the options that are available to you from a financing and home selection process. And then finally, what we can do to make that as smooth as possible. When I meet with my clients the first time, I want to make sure you understand everything you need to know about financing, what goes into a mortgage payment. There's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of the online information may not have more realistic data as far as where the market is at, as far as like interest rates, what you're putting down for down payment, understanding taxes and how that all fits in there. I want to make sure people understand what that all means. Finally, how do we actually shop for properties online? A lot of that online information can be weeks outdated. They can be inaccurate. They can be just a lot of misinformation. Even some websites can have some shady information. So I want to make sure that I'm getting people in touch with the right places to go to there. And finally, what it is that we can expect from making an offer, which I do break down a little bit here in this video. I'll also have another one that you can reach out to, or you can check out another time as well. Always, you can reach out to me anytime. And then finally, what we can expect from contract to close. What can we expect from once you get an accepted offer to inspections, appraisals, and when you can expect to ultimately close on that property. In my opinion, by understanding the whole picture, you can save money, you can make better decisions, and you actually just have a much more enjoyable process in your home purchasing. Honestly, this initial consultation that I have with my clients, this is why I won Best Real Estate Agent here for the year of 2022. I was runner-up in 2021 as well. So this is something that I've been doing for a very long time. I encourage people, look at my reviews or watch additional videos on me. You'll find that I definitely know my stuff and I can explain these things very easily to you. But once you understand the market conditions and you have an idea of what to expect, you're going to be in the right path to success here in the Rochester area. Step 3, how do we actually shop for homes? One thing that you must understand is, most of those online home search engines, again, are oftentimes weeks, sometimes months outdated. I want to make sure people are working with websites that are actually specific to here in the Rochester area. Those online public systems are just large national geographical algorithms. They're just not specific enough to get you what it is that you need. Personally, I've got 2 different portals that I set my clients up on. They're tied directly to the local multiple listing service here in the Rochester, Minnesota area. So this is the same tools that we as real estate agents use when we're scheduling showings, when we're advising clients. That means you ultimately be able to find properties before other buyers and even before many real estate agents here in the Rochester area. If you are in a situation where you're really not at that point yet, I do have one that is free to you as well. It's the Rochester Area Homefinder.com. I personally own that website. It is tied directly here to our local MLS as well. I personally own that. So if you reach out to that, I'll have it down below in this YouTube channel. You can connect on that. I also can personally connect with you as well through there if you would like as well. Once we are actually out there and we're looking at properties, I encourage people to look at least a minimum of 3 properties. If you're looking online and you're searching properties regularly for a couple months ahead of time, you're going to be in a much better situation as well, which is one of the reasons why I encourage people to reach out to me months in advance. But in this video, obviously, we're looking to purchase in 30 days. So really what I want people to understand is, you can purchase that first house you see, but just make sure that you have a variety of ideas of what it is you want. Personally, it doesn't matter to me if you are looking at 1 property or 30 properties. I just want people who are loyal to working with me. If I'm going to be giving my advice and my guidance and my tools in the marketplace, I just want to know that people are willing to be consistently loyal to working with me as well. When we are out there shopping for properties, I can usually knock out 3 to 4 properties inside of an hour. It just depends on their distance from each other, but we can usually set up in a situation where I can contact all 3 or 4 different listing agents. I can set up a situation where we can see all those properties that you are interested here in the Rochester area. It's a much better process than connecting with the listing agent directly who does not represent you. It's actually one of the biggest mistakes that I see home buyers make is they will talk to the listing agent. And you have to understand the listing agent represents the seller. They do not represent you. So you want to make sure that you have those things ahead of time. This way I can schedule it for you. You still get the representation that you deserve. And ultimately we can still get you into those properties pretty quickly. When we are at showings, there are some specific things that I am looking for. I'm not an inspector, but I do know enough to be dangerous in this process. Really, the big 4 are looking at the foundation. This includes the grading. Where is the water going to be running to on heavy rainfall? Siding, roof, windows, heating, air conditioning. Other than that, I really want people to be focusing on, the condition. Does it match what you're going to be looking for, the quality you're looking for? And ultimately, does a layout work for your lifestyle? And isn't going to work out for your lifestyle in another 3 to 5 years? I know a lot of people have different situations are going to come up over time or plans. Let's make sure that we're taking those things in consideration. We're actually out looking for properties as well. When we find a house that you like, that is when we are going to be making an offer. And I do have another video that breaks that down, but really quickly here, I'm going to break down some of the specifics for you. First one is earnest money. Now, this is the money that we give to the sellers so that you have some skin in the game and you are actually serious about purchasing the property. I usually recommend people put about 1 to 2% down on this. Not the end of the world if you can't put that much down. We just want to make sure that we're showing them that we actually have some skin in the game. This will go into the listing brokerage, and you do get that money back at the closing table to help with your down payment and closing costs. There are some financing situations where I've seen buyers get all that money back, but that's a little bit more detailed for this video as well. Next is going to be purchase price. And I really break this down into two different things. There's purchase price and net to seller. The purchase price might be $300,000 for the purchase of the home, but you might be asking the seller to contribute $5,000 towards your closing costs. If you don't know what closing costs are, I do break that down in another video a little bit more thoroughly, but just understand if we're asking the seller to contribute $5,000 to you out of that $300,000 purchase price, the net sales price of that seller is $295,000. Now that is the number that the seller actually cares about. What are they actually getting for the sale of their home as well? So those are kind of the main basics there. Another thing that might affect that could be if you're asking for any home warranties. That's essentially a situation where a separate company will cover the cost of repairing appliances within certain reasons. Of course, there's always multiple different home warranty companies. I can explain that in another video as well. Finally, they're also going to want to know what type of financing you're using. You know, if you're being a cash purchase, they want to know it's 100% financing. If you're doing, you know, a 3 or 5% down or a 20% down, or if you're doing some sort of government financing, which I can break that down for you in another video a little bit more thoroughly. Also reach out to me. You'll find at my initial consultation, I really break these things down much more thoroughly as well. And then they're also going to want to know closing date. You're going to want to know roughly when you can take ownership of that property. And the seller is also going to want to know when it is that they can expect to get their money. In real estate, there's oftentimes a domino effect where you are purchasing a seller's property, that seller is purchasing another property. You may also be in a situation where you need to sell your property as well. So we can see anywhere between 4 and 5, potentially more transactions all kind of tied together. So we really need to make sure we're paying attention to these things. It's an important part in the decision-making process when sellers are deciding, when buyers are making offers as well. Finally, inspections, right? Inspections in the state of Minnesota are optional. You do have to pay the inspector out of your own pocket for that unless it's negotiated in the contract. Sometimes you can make that contingent. Sometimes you can make it non-contingent. If you do have a offer contingent on inspection, you do actually have the right to back out during that inspection timeline. I usually try to keep that within 7 to 10 days. Sometimes you go as high as 14 days. I've seen higher, I've seen lower. Really just depends on what we're able to work out in the negotiations and the ultimate decisions. But also there's sometimes other things that get added into these offers as well. And that just really depends on the situation as well. But you want to make sure you have a thorough understanding of all of this. You know, I make sure to break down all the intricacies at the first meeting so you know exactly what we're going to do. From there, once I do have an offer signed, I will work to present that to the listing agent. You know, this is something that I encourage people, leave the negotiations to me. This is something I've done for over a decade. I've been in real estate since 2016. I've won multiple awards in negotiations. Again, one of the best real estate agents here in the Rochester area, oftentimes just because of my online presence in the area or because I've had past relationships with other real estate agents. They're more preferable to working with my clients because they know that they're educated on the process. And again, I know the big names here in the area. So just let me handle this and let me take care of what's going to ultimately happen over there. Ultimately, you will be the one handling all the final decisions. But if you let me be kind of the middleman and work those things out, I can help you, you know, get a much better deal than what could potentially happen otherwise, right? But once we get an accepted offer, and sometimes we don't get the first offer accepted, this is just the nature of the game. We do the best we can. But when we do, this is a time where you should be celebrating getting an accepted offer on that property. From there, within 2 business days, we need to get the earnest money deposited to the listing brokerage. Usually we use an online system. You can also mail that check over to the listing agent as well. Pretty straightforward process. You do get that money back at closing, up with the closing costs and down payment again. Sometimes in financing, there are situations, again, where I see people who will get money back at closing. Again, those are kind of more intricate financing programs. If you are looking for a very low down payment, reach out to me and I'll explain to you some of the probably 2 or 3 most common low down payment or down payment assistance programs that I see here in the Rochester area as well. So again, if you want more details on that, just reach out to me. In the meantime, we want to make sure that we are notifying the loan officer to get started on the financing. Please make sure you get them all of the documents quickly. Preferably, we got them most of the documents before we were even out looking at showings, but there's always going to be additional documents that come up in this pending transaction timeline. We'll also make sure that we notify the title company. These are the people who are going to go over the paperwork with you at the closing table. They're going to make sure that there's a valid title, meaning the seller actually owns it, and that there's going to be clear of any liens when you take home ownership of the property. You don't want to be closing on a new home and then find out there's a $10,000 roof bill attached to it. Title company is responsible for making sure those things are done. They'll also be the ones at the closing table that go over the paperwork. Also, we will work out inspection contingencies if we have them. Again, inspections are optional. I'm not going to cover everything here that goes into making good decisions around inspection contingencies. That'll be another video that I'll have for that. Again, you reach out to me, I'll cover that as well. But I just want people to know that during this inspection phase, if it is contingent, you can actually back out for any reason as a home buyer within that time frame in the state of Minnesota. Right. Sometimes there's repairs, sometimes there's concessions, sometimes it's just a situation where people want to move forward. Again, every situation kind of depends on that. Once we've removed inspections, or once we are, beyond the inspection phase, we will actually order the appraisal. And this is really only if you're financing. Obviously, you're paying cash. We may not have that. You still have an option to write that into the purchase agreement as well. I usually tell people they can take a week to 2 weeks to get the appraiser out there, another week to 2 weeks to actually get that appraisal back. This is actually the part where I tell people you really can't overpay for real estate unless you choose to, because the bank's going to want to make sure there's adequate collateral in the home that you're purchasing. They're not going to give you $400,000 on a house that's only worth $370,000 as well, right? So it's important to understand how that kind of fits into this whole thing as well. So sometimes there is another round of negotiations at this point as well. At least 3 days before closing, you're going to get a closing disclosure from the loan officer telling you what your rate is, closing costs, what you can ultimately expect for down payment, everything at the closing table. But you got to make sure you sign off on that 3 days before. Usually anywhere between 24 and 48 hours before closing, we're going to do the final walkthrough. This is where we go in and we make sure that there's been no crazy defects to the property. The seller completed all the things that we asked for on the inspection contingency if we had one. And then from there, we will go on to the closing table within, again, 24 to 48 hours. Just depends on what your situation is and your ability to get in there. At closing, we will be signing off on the paperwork. We will take ownership of the property. I hand over the keys. I usually try to get a nice photo with all my clients as well. So there you have it. That's exactly what you need to purchase a home in Rochester in 30 days or less. Now, that's oftentimes not going to be the case. Usually I'll have a situation where I'm meeting with people, months before they're actually getting ready to purchase a home. But I do believe that this video is helpful for anyone who is going to be purchasing a home shortly. So you have an idea of what timelines to expect. Obviously, this isn't covering everything. I know it's a longer video than most of my videos, but if you are looking to purchase here in the Rochester area, or if you are looking to sell and purchasing, this is something I do every single day. So I am very happy and eager to serve you. I encourage you to reach out to me anytime, and I'm happy to help any way that I can in real estate, whether that's here in Rochester or outside of the area as well. I can get you connected with someone who can at least help you out. But here in the Rochester, Minnesota area, I assure you, you're in the right hands with me. Cheers.